a small town, a woman stood by the side of the road. She was holding a bouquet of flowers in her hand and nervously fingering the hem of her dress. She hailed a taxi, and when it stopped, she got in. "Quickly, please," she said. "I'm late." "You're meeting someone?" the taxi driver asked. "Yes, it's my daughter's birthday," said the woman. "She's 25 years old today, and she's waiting to meet me at 3 p.m. "Well, it's already 10 minutes to 3, said the driver. "I better drive fast so as not to make you late." "Where to?" "North Cemetery, please," the woman replied, and she stared at the driver, her eyes filled with bitterness and tears. He glanced back at her in surprise, but did not say anything. The woman was almost in tears. "You know, my daughter left me a month ago," she said, "and yesterday she called me and said, 'Mom, if you miss me so much, come to visit me on my birthday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.'" On the woman's face there was a trembling smile. "She's waiting for me." The driver slowed down. There was a traffic jam in front, and none of the cars were moving. "It's okay, we're near enough," said the woman. "I'll make it on foot." She got out of the taxi, paid the fare, and hurried towards the cemetery. The driver watched as she disappeared around the corner. He waited, and eventually the cars in front began to move. As he drove past the cemetery, he saw a familiar bouquet of flowers scattered on the road. There had been a terrible accident. A woman had been hit by a car and killed. It was the same woman who had been in his taxi. The driver looked at the clock. It was exactly 3 p.m.
When my mother was young, she went out on a blind date. Her date took her to a restaurant, and although he was nice enough, she just wasn't into him. Halfway through the meal, she was so bored that she was already thinking of excuses so that she could leave early. The waiter could tell she was bored and kept smiling and winking at her. While my mom's date was in the restroom, the waiter approached her and started asking her if she was okay. She explained that she was on a blind date, but she wasn't having much fun. It turned out that the waiter was just about to get off work, so he offered to give my mother a ride home if she waited around another 10 minutes. She considered it and was tempted to say yes, but just then her date came back from the restroom. She shook her head, smiled at the waiter, and told him, "No thanks." My mom and her date finished their meals, and he drove her home. The next night, my mom happened to be watching the evening news. There was a news flash saying that a woman had been found murdered behind a restaurant the night before. She realized it was the same restaurant she'd been at with her date. Then they said the police had already caught the killer. A picture flashed up on the screen. It was the same waiter from the restaurant.
One evening, a young woman named Betty was home alone when she heard a knock at the front door. She opened it and found a young man standing there on the doorstep. He told her that his car had broken down and asked if he could come in and make a phone call because his cell phone battery had run out. Betty was a friendly young woman, and she was readily agreeing to help him. After he made his phone call, she offered him a drink. They sat down in the lounge and began to discuss anything and everything. Their conversation continued long into the night. As it was getting late, Betty yawned and told the young man that it was probably time for him to go home. However, he ignored her and continued to talk about his passion for movies. He listed all the movies he had seen recently and asked her opinion about them. He continued to talk and brought up the subject of video nasties. Betty didn't know what that term meant. He explained that a video nasty was a film in which a person was actually murdered. No special effects, no camera tricks. Everything was real. Betty began to get a little creeped out and explained that she had been terrified when she watched one horror movie in particular. It was the morbid story of a young woman who was trapped by 3 psychopaths who left a camera running as they killed her and chopped her up. The man began to talk more and more about video nasties, and the longer he spoke, the more uneasy she became. While he was talking, Betty's attention was suddenly drawn by a peculiar red glow under the jacket of her guest. Her face grew pale when she realized it was the unmistakable red light of a camera that was recording. Driving home at night, you notice that all the lights in your house are on. As you park the car, they all turn off at the same time. The house is empty, and the doors are locked from the inside. You check your watch. The big hand is on the 4, and the little hand is on the 1. You'll be late for work. At work, you find an email in your inbox. The sender is yourself. Puzzled, you open the email you apparently sent to yourself. Inside is the message, the out for watch. You look at your watch, the little hand is on the 4 and the big hand is on the 1. You look back at the screen. The 4th and 1st word have swapped places. Watch out for the watch. You look at your watch again. Your watch is digital. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.